because the pain is too much. All her body, her hand, she's not going to school. We bought her food that day. The way the girl is eating, as if she's not used to it. The pain is too much. I was like, is this what they go through? The pain is just too much. Another scenario, another one will come, they have domestic violence, children, they are involved. They're saying that, okay, she's going to leave the children for the husband. And meanwhile, the husband only have one hand. How do you want her to cope? A lot of things I've seen in this social work, in fact, a lot, things that I've not ever even seen before. I've seen a lot, especially in the office of the public defenders. A lot of things is really happening that I'm even surprised that is happening.
Okay, thank you. I think Adilabo wanted to speak.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to talk about one area of which child protection covers, which is neglect.
Okay.
Okay, sir. I see, especially in my environment here these days, that as a sort of negligence in the part of parents, you see a lot of these young, I don't want to call them young ladies now because they are still children, female children under the age of 12, 10, some of them 13, now relying solely on what their Yahoo boyfriend could do to them. Then you will see that majority of them were supposed to be in school. You see them now, choose to be an alleged housewife in the house of those very small teenagers or children of their mates. And as a result of this, you see some of them, patronizing all these roadside clinic or hospital doing abortion upon abortion. So lately, I was privileged to talk with one. She came to one of my business that she wanted to work. Then I just interviewed her a while. He told me something. And I said, oh, why would you dress like this? Who do you live with? What about your parents, this and that? At the point, she doesn't want to talk, but later she opened up and spoke with me. Why? Her father is alive. She used a word, her father is alive as if he's not alive. And the mother too, she's not financially buoyant. And she asked me a question, how do I expect her to live financially? And of course, it has been her boyfriend catering for her. She's just 13 years old. So the negligence in the part of the parent now, only God knows where such a child, will end up. So that's just one of the area child right protection and care covers that I'd like to talk about. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Barbara Abba. Barbara. Barbara, please unmute us.
Hello, sir.
Oh.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Please go ahead with you.
Okay. The aspect I want to talk about is a situation that happened around me with one of my neighbors. For her, she had a child out of wedlock as in when she was a bit younger.
Is your TV on?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me? Hello?
Is your TV on?
Hello?
Your TV. So much noise on your background. It's interfering with what you are saying.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please. Please, there's a voice in your background that is interfering with what you are saying. If you are in a church, you can move out. If there's a TV, you can lower it. Okay. Okay, while she's doing that, can we hear from Jackson, Nora? Jackson Laura.
Hello, good morning, everyone. So, I have not had a first-hand experience, but I've heard of a lot of stories in regards to this child protection and so there's this one I heard recently that really took me aback. Okay, it's parents who get children from their villages to come live with their children, like underage children acting as helpers or maids in houses. You know, a lot of parents take like 7 or 8 years old children to come take care of their infants. It's more like a child taking care of another child, which I don't, buy into. Because most times they give them a lot of house chores that are even beyond their human strength, and they are being maltreated. Like the recent one I heard of, which was really chaotic. It was so bad. These people were trying to relocate to the US, and the husband's the wife requested that her niece come stay with her child while they go on with the process of the visa applications, interview, and all of that. So when there was this day that they went out for their visa interview, and when they got back, the child, that's the niece, which is like 7 or 8, you don't expect a child who is 7 or 8 not to play. Leaving a 7-year-old child with a 3-year-old is just like her leaving children, with themselves, like playing with each other. So I think that the 8 years old who is meant to be a help or a maid at home, while they go around their visa processes and other things, they got playing, and the 7 years old pushed this lady, the 3 years old, and she hit her head on the wall and died instantly. Because there was no supervision. Just left children at home, thinking that the 7 years old would cater for this 3 years old who is also a child. So when they got back, it was so tragic. And they got back, they saw their 3-year-old girl lifeless, and they asked the maid or the niece what happened. She said that they were playing, they were struggling with a toy. They were playing, and in error, she pushed her and she hit her head against the wall. And before they rushed this baby to the hospital, she had passed on. So they had to involve the police, call the mother of the child, and everything. The situation was so bad. So I learned that before they got them to the police station, the mother had run away with her child. Like the mother of the girl who pushed the 3 years old. So the lawyer put them in a boat for them to go to the police station because he was so busy. Instead of him to drive them there, he put them in a boat. And before, only for the parents and the lawyer to hear later that they had, run off. They didn't go to the police station to write petition and all. Up until now, as we speak, they cannot find the small girl, her mom, and the family is just facing a lot of traumatic experience.
Who is at fault there?
For me, like I said earlier, taking an underage child, which is anybody less than, like you said earlier, a minority, less than 18, it's a no for me, because it's more like you taking a child and with another child, a child taking care of another child. I don't know. So for me, they should have gotten someone who is above 18 or a majority to have cater for that child, pending when hello.
I'm with you.
Yeah, pending when if you want to help someone, it's okay to get an 8-year-old and train her through school if it's your niece. But when it comes to taking care of an infant 0 to however you want. Like if you're a career person, you should get a majority, someone who is above 18. You know, I think the parents were negligent. I don't think it's, you know, this such situation is really sensitive, you know. She's really sensitive because even if you say you blame the parents, they felt, you know, the girl would have been able to take care of a 3 years old and all. So the situation for me, any child that is below 18 should not be used as a help, regardless. You can at least take them, train them till they are up to 18, and then allow them to cater for your children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You said a lot. Each person has said so much that we need to also be cautious of. The last speaker just summarized this course. Even if I say I finished my course now, I will not be regretting it because it has covered so much that we need to talk about, and the contribution of others also have been able to help us look at what child care is and what child protection also is. Because of this, you will discover that so many people are guilty of whatsoever they have been or they have been doing around a child. Because, like she said, a child cannot be taking care of another child. That's about child abuse, child neglect, child labor, child maltreatment, and all the likes like that. And a child cannot be engaged in money-making ventures. The mother of that child, who was 8 years, I presume that she will be collecting money, maybe collecting money from this woman or that family for taking care of their own 3-year-old child while they are going to the embassy. So that woman also is a culprit. Whenever she's apprehended, it's a culprit. Why? Why will you give a 7-year-old or 8-year-old person, a minor, to go and serve others? What will he be doing? In that process, she may be given some task to be done that is beyond her age, beyond her strength, beyond her ability. And then in that process, something may even be damaged in that child's life. She may break her hand in the bit of it. I see children who were serving others or being used as handmaids, drawing water from the well, carrying kegs of water, and all things like that. Even as your own children, there are some things that you cannot give your children who are in the age of minority to do. Why? Because a task for children should be measured according to their strength and their age, and according to their intelligence as well. So these are the things that we combat with when we talk about child care and protection. Thank you very much for each person that has spoken, and I know that many other people have experiences to share. But then we will not have enough time to accommodate everybody. Let's go to theories of child protection. Theories of child protection. There are many theories that can be looked at when we're talking about theories of child care and protection. But we'll not be looking at it because we have already a course on theories and models. So I will just be talking about an aggregate of some of the theories, and I will only be speaking on a theory and an approach. And that is child protection theory of change. And then we'll talk about World Vision Ministry approach to child protection. I think that will link us to system theory, which is by and large what we normally talk about when we want to narrow down to the issue of children. There are other theories, that also the ecological theory that relates to children as well. So let's just look at what the child protection theory of change is. Okay, so the goal of child protection is to strengthen the protection of children from abuse or violence. So the child protection is critical for all children's well-being, their aspiration and outcomes. So violence or exploitation can undermine any other child well-being outcome, just as a safe environment provides children with the opportunity to develop across all the outcomes. And also, the child protection theory of change talks about the advised childhood experience, which are shown to have long-term consequences on the well-being and the behaviors of children. So, and these consequences often include difficulties in school, in learning, poor health, and problems in gaining employment and interacting socially. And sometimes frequently for their whole life goes with them and affect them all through their lives. So the system theory looks at a sustained improvement in all of child well-being, targets requires protection of children from violence and from discrimination. Now, when we are talking about the theory of change, it also provides the basis for a number of aspects of our work life. It can help us to unite or link the contribution of different sectors and lines of World Vision Ministry to child protection outcomes. So the theory of change can also be a valuable guide in developing strategy. It can help offices think through the numerous possible entry points to strengthening protective environments and link efforts at different levels into a more coherent strategy. So the theory of change looks at a number of issues, from the social life to the environmental life to the home front life. It's trying to postulate the fact that even at the entry point of work for especially mothers, you look at what actually is happening in the life of that woman. Is it a nursing mother? Apart from the ones who have been working and they now are put to bed or are nursing children. And of course, you know that there are some maternity leave and paternity leave for those parents who are already working in ministries, departments, agencies, or in private establishments. So the law of Nigeria tells us that there is maternity leave, and after a mother has put to bed, there's also a leave after that. And when a man has put to bed and the husband also had informed his workplace and given the due date of the woman and every medical report to his employer, so he is also entitled to paternity leave to keep and care and protect the new child before the father goes back to work, and then the mother also continue caring for the child. So it looks at the environment. It looks at, that is the theory of change, looks at the well-being of the family and looks at the social aspect of life of the family in the bid to avoid or mitigate exploitation, abuse, neglect. And the outcome that is looked at by the theory of change is to ensure that there is a proper care for each child by everybody. The lawmakers have a part to play. The parents have a part to play. The environment where a child grows has a part to play. The social angle and social support of a child also has a part to play. So the theory of change is a summary of all of this, so that there is the strengthening factor from the parents and everyone around a child for that child to grow as a normal person in society. So there is the second one that is called the World Vision Ministry approach to child protection. The theory of change is a little bigger or a little robust than the World Vision Ministry approach, WVM. It also talks about utilizing the strength and the identity that is specific to appropriate entry points to leverage system change in each of the contexts we have mentioned. So the WVM approach to child protection seeks to empower children. It has got for the theory of change, it focuses more on the system around a child. But for the world vision, it also talks about the support around a child. But this incorporates the child or the children themselves into the all-embracing form of the protection aspect for their own lives. So it seeks empowerment for children, families, communities, government, and other partners to prevent and respond to exploitation, neglect, abuse, and other forms of violence affecting children, especially the most vulnerable. If I may ask, who are the most vulnerable children? Who are the most vulnerable children? Asking a question. If you want to answer, please you can raise your hand or your mute. Who are children that we term the most vulnerable?
I think, hello, sir.
Yeah, please.
I think children without parents, sir.
Okay, children without parents, orphans.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why do you say so? Why do you say orphans are most vulnerable?
Why I say so is that, we give the definition of child as people who cannot make decision of their own, who the person under the category of which they need to be helped, they need to be cared for, and who are the people expected to care for them in the first place before we now see the public, as their responsibility. They are their immediate and biological parents, and since they lack this, I think they are the most vulnerable. That's my own understanding.
Okay. Yeah, you're correct. Okay, somebody else.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
I
please.
think disabled children too are most vulnerable because they need people to take care of them. They can't, yes, they are most vulnerable. Disabled people with children with autism, those that cannot walk, everything them disabled, they are most vulnerable.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So the World Vision also utilizes the system approach to child protection, helping to strengthen the protective environment around the children as well as the children themselves. This includes a focus on the formal elements, for example, the national legislation, the policy framework, the legal services, and the social welfare services. And also look at the informal elements like the churches, community-based organizations, indigenous leaders, and children and youth network. Those are people that work together to prevent and respond to abuse, neglect, exploitation, and other forms of violence against children. There's also look at the programmatic work and expertise at the local level, which gives it the credibility and evidence to advocate for stronger child protection system on national, regional, and global level, which is a system approach seeks to do, whereas the system approach seeks to do the following. One, address child protection issues in comprehensive and sustainable manner, including cultural, political, social, spiritual, and financial factors. The WVM also affirms the role of parents, both mother and fathers, and caregivers as those first responsible for care and protection of children. It also affirms the responsibility of states to guarantee the care and protection of children through respecting, protecting, and fulfilling their protection rights outlined in the Convention of the Rights of the Child and other international human rights instruments. We talked about it a while ago. It also affirms the role of children themselves as the final measures of the effectiveness of child protection and as critical actors in protecting themselves and their peers. System theory also talks about strengthening the protective environment for all children, including a strong focus on prevention of abuse, exploitation, neglect, and other forms of violence against children. And of course, it leverages on the local level work to strengthen child protection systems on national, regional, and global level. In essence, the system approach to complex change must always be operationalized in the following principles. One, it must see the whole big picture around the child or the children. It must see that different parts of the system affect each other. The formal, the informal, the legislation. One affects each other. It also must be understood that worldview and beliefs affects how people act and choices they make. It also takes into cognizance a long-time view and the practice continual learning and the regular adjustment to life and living within and around children. So we must be able to look at all this and the worldview as it relates to the system theory. Don't forget, we're talking about the worldview's approach to child protection, and we are relating that to the system theory. And this approach looks at three major factors, which they call 3 by 3. That is the three actors and the three essentials. 3 by 3. So the first aspect of the essentials or the 3 by 3 scenario is one, actor number one, strengthening families as the first line of protection and care for children. We said that the world vision as it relates to system theory looks at three actors and three essentials. The first actor is the strengthening of families as the first line of protection and care for children. And it is very essential, essential number one, talks about establishing and increasing local level collaboration between formal and informal actors to strengthen child protection. That is the home front and the social support system. That is the formal and the informal, the home, the church, the school, environment, and things like that. Those are the first actor and the essential people that must be involved at that level. Then actor number two talks about empowering children as actors in the child protection system. What are the basic essential in this? It talks about integrating focused children protection efforts with other sectoral intervention like water, livelihood, and education. Children must be made to see the importance of the environment. Water is very essential to life and living. Sanitation is very important to life and living. Health is very important to life and living. They must be able to know and be taught about livelihood. How do we live? That culture, that tradition must be imbibed into them as children. The culture of love, the culture of loving your neighbor as yourself, the culture of taking care of your neighbor as yourself, the culture of no discrimination, the culture of ensuring that one is for all is for one. And the importance of education must be taught to the children. The children must also be advocates of all this. It is not just the parents or in churches alone. We must be able to form them. They must be able to articulate it. They must be able to, and that is how I love our culture and tradition. Basically talks about all this. Nigeria, there is no culture in Nigeria or in Africa that does not talk about this and does not talk about training children and their peers in all of this. Our education, native education is superb, but was not allowed to develop because of colonization and slavery and all those things. Okay, it was last night I was talking to one of my friends because it was raining. And I was coming from work and the rain almost beat me and I just went somewhere and I was enjoying the lyrics of the rain as it's dropping on the roof. And I was seeing the erosion, how it's gliding on the, so it amusing since I was sharing with a friend when I got home. I was saying that, you remember that when the rain was falling, was just singing because it was disturbing him. He was singing rain, rain, go away, come again another day. They want to say. I said, you can see your life, something that is natural. Nature cannot be pushed aside for you to go and play. I said, it's not right. Well, I told him, I said, I love what our parents in our generation taught us. And he said, what was that? I said, about the same rain, what we were saying there. I said, no, because rainwater is good. It's even good for you to touch your body sometimes. Me, I used to like it. So I told him that they taught us that when rain is falling, don't go inside the rain. Stay in the house. Play in the house so that your body will not be wet and drenched. So that you will not catch cold and flus. So it's teaching us the fact that we cannot interfere with nature on what God has provided. Talk to us about hygiene. Talk about the care of our body. Talk to us. So they have used rain to teach us in that simple song about water, the kind of water that will touch your body, if you have to tell it, that taught us about health. It has educated us a little about what will make us to have flu and things like that. So children of in those days, you will see in my generation, when rain is falling, we'll begin to sing like that and we'll stay indoor. But sometimes we go and play inside the rain when our parents are not there because we like it. And when our parents come, we are shivering. So they will have to take care of us. Or sometimes they will beat us. But we find the light in playing. But they told us we should not do that because it can cause some other things. From there, some people will cause, there's something we call jiga, when you put your leg inside dirty water. So they taught so all of those should be taught, and children are to cascade it to their friends, their peers, and things like that. So, actually, number 3, catalyzing the unique and essential contributions of churches and other faith communities to strengthening child protection. What are the essentials? Leveraging our long-term presence in communities for national, regional, and global influence to establish the importance of child protection for development and humanitarian outcomes. Those are the things that we look at when we talk about 3 by 3, the actors and the enablers. The actors are who is responsible, what should be done. The enablers, who are to cascade it, who does this thing affect? Are they supposed to be part of it to cascade and to echo it so that they can imbibe it and ensure that the good well-being of themselves is enhanced? And those who are the actors also are looking for the good well-being of the enablers to be enhanced. So because of that, we look at the world view approach to child care and protection. Don't forget 3 by 3. So in a nutshell, we have just been able to look at the global theory of child care and protection. We talked about the theory of change. We have talked about the world vision. We talked about how it relates to system theory, and we've also talked about the essential world vision essential of child protection, the 3 by 3. So we have been able to talk about theories, model, and perspective. But the perspective, the approach. So in the next 20 minutes, let's look at the social work profession and how it relates to that specialization that is called the child care and protection. Okay? So the social work profession is committed to maximizing the well-being of individuals and society at large. And we consider that individual and societal well-being is underpinned by socially inclusive communities that emphasizes principles of social justice, respect for human dignity, and human rights, which include the right to be part of a loving and understanding family. The right to be part of a loving and understanding family. When a child is raised up in a family that is loving and understanding, you will discover that the menace of child abuse and neglect will not arise. That's social work coming. The social work profession supports and enacts the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of the Child, particularly principle number 9, which states that the child shall be protected against all forms of neglect, all forms of cruelty, and all forms of exploitation. That is the principle number 9 of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of the Child. protection against all forms of neglect, cruelty, and exploitation. So drawing on knowledge of social work practice, social sciences, humanities, and indigenous knowledge, social workers focus on the interface between the individual, their family, and the environment, and recognizes the impact of social, economic, and cultural factors on the health and well-being of individuals and communities, and especially as it relates to child care and protection. Accordingly, social workers maintain a dual focus in both assisting with and improving human well-being, identifying and addressing any external issues that may impact on well-being of children, such as inequality, injustice, and discrimination. So, social work is a tertiary qualified profession recognized nationally and internationally. The Chartered Institute of Social Work Practitioners of Nigeria is the key professional body in Nigeria responsible for the training, certification of social work professionals, and accreditation of social work programs in schools or institutions. So the qualifications that applicants to C-ISOWN are required to hold are a higher national diploma, and some the Bachelor of Social Work, some Social Work Master's degree, some Doctor of Social Work, some a Doctor of Philosophy in Social Work, that's PhD Social Work. I know that in Nigeria, social work is now a profession by Act number 25 of 2022, as signed by the federal government of Nigeria, which make the Chartered Institute of Social Work Practitioners of Nigeria the regulatory body for the practice of the profession called social work in Nigeria. I know that social work has a specialization. Those who are in those who have HNDI, the executive cadre of social work practice in Nigeria, those who have bachelors are in the officers cadre of professional practice in Nigeria, as well as those who have masters and PhDs or Doctor of Social Work (DSW), and those also who have a PGD or Ppgd are also in the officers cadre of social work practice in Nigeria. So because social work is vast and large, we have so many specializations, which childcare and protection is also one of the specializations of social work as we speak. What are the roles of social work in child protection system? That is where we are now. Child protection system responds to children who have suffered or are likely to suffer significant harm as a result of abuse and neglect. That is one of the roles of social work. Secondly, Nigeria and state governments have jurisdiction over the provision of child protection services with legislative, policy, and practice framework differing across the country, which means that even though many states have not been able to domesticate the Child Rights Act, but at least I know that about 26 or 27 states in Nigeria have been able to domesticate the issue of Child Rights Act. Even if a state has not domesticated, at least at the national level, it has been domesticated. So at the High Court, the CRC is always operational because it is in the jurisdiction of the High Court. And child protection policy, family court, and the likes are in that jurisdiction. So wherever you are in Nigeria, every child is covered. So social workers have the honor, and part of their duty is to enforce this legislative policies of government and the framework at different levels across board or across Nigeria. That is why you see that social workers are employed in the Ministry of Justice, social workers are employed in the Ministry of Women Affairs, social workers are employed in the Ministry of Humanitarian, Disaster Management and Life. That's why you see social workers are employed in Ministry of Education, social workers are employed in the military and in the police, paramilitary, they are employed there and they work there as social workers and many other ministries like that. Even in some of these agencies that have to do with the rights, even consumer rights, social work is there. So there's nowhere social work. We talk about ICT, social work is there. So wherever you have human being is a field of social work. That's what makes social work unique and dynamic. Any social worker fits into anywhere where human beings are to protect human beings, and not just human beings alone, to protecting of animals. That's why we have also we have forensic social work. We have social workers who work within veterinary social workers. So you look at, because in veterinary social work, the way you treat and handle animals have impact on the children and what your children may turn out to be. I think I have a research on that. It talks about psychosocial and psychomotor capacity of a child, the way a child sees life, the way a child gives premium to life and living, and the way you maltreat animals. When you throw stone on animals, in fact, in African culture, you don't throw stones to animals. You don't turn like chicken, you don't turn the head of chicken down for it to suffer. A child is seeing all this. When you maltreat all these animals like that, you see that a child also turns out to be brutal on other children or brutal on things around him or her, or be careless about himself and about others. And also, will not be able to take care of people around him or peers around him. Why? Because of the way we treat animals. So it affects the psychological aspect of children. So we have social workers who are veterinary social workers who are into all that. So let's continue. So while some social workers practice within a legislative framework, the legislative policy and practice framework for statutory or tertiary level child protection social workers are particularly complex. Furthermore, the phenomenon of child abuse and neglect is itself complex, either socially, psychologically, or environmentally. So working in this role as child care and protection officer is also emotionally demanding, and on some rare occasions can be hazardous for social workers. So social workers report being highly conscious that the issues of child protection is so complex that independent agencies are generally ineffective in achieving the best outcome. That is why a collaborative approach is essential. Remember the worldview that we have just finished discussing. Talk about a collaborative approach, an all-inclusive approach. And social workers in working around child care and protection must be able, during their intervention, to take advantage of this worldview approach at ensuring a good and better outcomes of intervention at any level. So this collaboration should not only be across related child protection agencies, but should include schools and preschools, the police, the agencies for provision of traffic enforcement, that is NAPTIP, Nigeria Civil Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, general practitioners of social work, human rights organizations, child care facilities, to mention but a few. And importantly, collaboration should involve the immediate and extended family and significant others of the children when intervening or during your engagement with children who have been endangered by adults or in their environment around them. So to undertake such complex work, social workers should be providing and receiving appropriate social work supervision, which encourages reflective practice and continuous professional development. Like we said, social workers who work on child care and protection must be very vast and must be able to know the laws. We have mentioned one, the principle number 9 of the United Nations Convention of Child Care and Protection. They must be able to vast on the Child Rights Act. And it's an assignment for each one. I know that there's a course in this program that is called the Child Rights Law, which will introduce you to the laws governing the governing children in Nigeria and around the world. I believe that course will do justice to child rights law. Needless us going into some of those laws, but at least you cannot do but mention in passing some of those laws. And social workers are encouraged because as social work practitioners working in agencies or ministries or departments, it is the tool that we use in working and being able to utilize this rule and ensuring that they relate to situation on ground for us to be able as probate officers, we should be able to drive a conclusion of matters brought to us around this area, citing and quoting relevant portions of the law for us to be able to drive home our point of how and why a child has been abused, neglected, and whatever has happened, and what the law says about it, and the steps to be taken by the law to address the issue and give protection to a child, or give warning, protection, or training, advocacy, sensitization to the parents and the community around a child. So what should be done? It's always to be backed by the law. When you are making now your recommendation, it is based on what the law says concerning what has happened to a child that you recommend about. And you dare not just say your own thing, but must infer from what the law has said, which is written down. You write it down in support of your interaction with your client or service user who is a child in danger. Are we together?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I don't know if I'm too fast, or I don't know if people are getting what I'm saying. I need feedback.
Yeah, with you, sir.
You. All right.
Yeah, with you, sir.
Okay,
We are
you.
here, sir. Mm.
Okay. Are you getting something from what we are saying?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's look at the various settings and field of practice in child protection system. Various settings and fields of child protection system. One, we have those who are called the state statutory child protection agencies. We have the Women Affairs, we have the school social workers, we have the medical social workers, we have them at state level, at general hospitals, at teaching center, teaching hospitals, and things like that. We have specialist family support and counseling services. So we also have them in schools. We have them, like somebody mentioned, we work with OPD. We have them in schools. We have them also in other agencies, ministries, and departments as well. We have those who work as foster care. We have those who are in residential care. We have those who are in children's commissions. We have those in forensic and correctional services. We have those in hospital and community health. We have settings of joint investigation response team. In OPD, we used to call them rescue team. Okay, we have those in child well-being units. We have those in adoption agencies. We have those in management and governance. We are social workers who are in administration and management. They are also there. And we have social workers who are child advocates. Those are some areas of specialization within the practice of child protection system. Let's look at the scope of social work practice in child protection. The scope. One is attend to the physical, emotional, educational needs and spiritual well-being of children who enter the child protection system. Two is the early identification of vulnerability, risk reduction, and strengthening supportive and protective factors around children. Number three, the risk assessment in relation to child abuse and neglect, cumulative harm, family violence, and intimate partner violence. We have number four, risk assessment also include the ability to assess child protection reports received from the community and weighing the evidence from other agencies such as the police and the health team. Number five, comprehensive psychosocial assessment that are strength-based and child-focused. Such assessments include comprehensive family assessments that consider the child's needs and the whole care environment of the child within an aim of making recommendations, therapeutic needs assessment, parenting capacity assessment, career assessment, and to inform interventions. These are the scope of social work practice, and those of us who are practical, who are practical, you see that all these things are knit together in some agencies like the Office of the Public Defender or Domestic Violence Response Team also bring all this together. You see all this we have mentioned within that agency being done as the scope of their operation. And some operations like the police may not have the whole of this, but they have aspect of it. And some in the medical practice do not have the whole of this, but they have some of it, because there must always be synergy in the social work practice. Some practice, even like OPD, it is not the social worker that does everything. The part for lawyers are there to be done. The part for the rescue team to be done is there. The part for admin who allocates or assign service users or clients to social workers and lawyers. The part is also there. So you see, all these things are all embracing, but all are focused on one thing: the well-being of the child. So from assessment from identification to assessment to reduction of risk to strengthening of family to ensuring there's cohesion to ensure that all things work together for the good of the children. So number 7, crisis intervention in addressing the needs of families at risk of having their children placed in care or in government shelter or in fostering of a child. Now I mentioned that some of the ways children are treated is not to take them to prison. Some they will be in the shelter. Some they will be in foster care. That is, some families who have been friends of the home, their families are that influential people in society. They also work with Ministry of Women Affairs or work with correctional centers to give their own wealth of experience in nurturing children. Some of them, maybe they have 1 child or 2 children. Some of them, maybe all their children have graduated, they are no longer with them. They are just husband and wife, but they love children. So they go to correctional facilities to help nurture children there. So some of them, during holiday, they go and spend time in foster care with such people like that. And from there, sometimes, from stay with them during holidays, if they are so lovable, they can be adopted as their children. So it works also like that. So number 8, establishing client social worker collaborative relationship in which the three roles of the social workers is clearly explained. Then the therapeutically informed intervention that acknowledge the complexities of trauma, grief, and loss expressed often as fear, anger, and sadness. You know, there's nowhere you have child care and protection system without having some social workers who are, or psychologists who are into psychosocial support of these children. Part of it is to, I think, be able to take them from their primary trauma, grief, and losses. So, number 9, facilitating networks for the child and family based on high-level knowledge about social system and community networks, including the facilitating of kinship network. You know, some children, it is there in the Child Rights Act. You don't separate children. If you have 4 or 5 children who are minors, you cannot separate them. They must always be together to form bonds. So when you're talking about adoption or you're talking about separation of parents, of their parents, when the big people, the majorities are fighting for separation, what the social worker is looking at is the tie or the bond and the bonding of the children. So that also determines who and who takes custody of the children. So it's all these things, like I said, a social worker must be vast in knowledge, must be able to interpret a section with another section and be able to come to a reasonable conclusion. Because as somebody who will often go to court, you will always be there to defend the child as the child advocate, as the child mouthpiece. In defense of him or her, you must be able to protect the interests of the children as child protection officer. Number 9, social and legal and ethical decisions making within the complex legal framework in which the best interest of the child is paramount. Then planning for long-term stability, which has its center in the need of the child for ongoing continuity and belonging, as well as timely planning and decision-making, culturally appropriate placement, and collaborative decision-making. That's also part of it. You cannot advise that a child who is from the Igbo strand be given to somebody who is an Hausa strand. It will not work, because it means that you want to make that child not to grow in the culture and tradition of his or her people, which he or she is entitled to. So you must be able to take a rightful decision at ensuring that that peg enters into the round hole, not square and round hole. You must be able to look at, because social workers practice in the midst of culture and tradition. Foreign culture and tradition is played at the lowest of the bottom of the ladder in decision making in social work, because culture and tradition has its place. You don't dismantle a person from his culture. You don't dismantle a child from his tradition. You don't dismantle a child from his religion. You don't dismantle all these things affect out in child right act. So a CPS looks at this thing when even planning placement. Where should we place this child? Like I work in Enugu, I know that sometimes ago, they used to take children from Enugu State to the north. Sometimes like that. And when you are even looking at those who are employed in the home, you look at those children generally who are there. If you have in the east, you cannot, if you have 12 staff and you have 4 northerners, 4 southwesterners, and 3 southeasterners, it is not right. Why? Because the children in that home who majorly are from the southeast will be disconnected. They will be confused. So even in the formation of staff, it must also take this level of having to plan for those who will be in the long-term correctional services of the social workers. So because of that, you need to collaborate, you need to have an effective decision-making strategy and planning towards all that is needed. So part of the scope, we also have the family intervention and support, which includes family therapy and family case conferencing and decision making. Part of the work of workers, we also have that conferencing. We have that sometimes we will need to go into the home, the family, the environment of the children to see how it looks like, whether it's a good place for a child to be nurtured and grow in, and then be able to also assist and help them in through sensitization and advocacy to ensure that the environment and the home become a good and better place. And what happens within the family that makes a child to be wayward or not to be cared for appropriately is also addressed at the home level. So apart from the home level, you even invite them and the community members, stakeholders into the social work office to have dialogue with them and further give them training and orientation on how to protect children within that environment. So that's why I said social work is very vast and our work is very tedious. It is only a lazy person or a lazy social worker that will say, I don't have work to do. If you really want to do your work, you will know that your work is free, during, and post. and that your work is also includes aftercare services. It also includes home visits. It also includes therapeutic. It also includes environmental. It also includes social. It includes academics. So you must be able to balance all these things to ensure that the children you are tending to receive the best care possible. And those in their environment are also sensitized into ensuring, into enlightening them, telling them what the law says, informing them what the law says, training and teaching them as, as also champions to go and teach other parents, to teach those in their, to teach also those in their neighborhood, training of trainers. So these are things that social workers in the CPS also do as part of the scope of their work. Number 10, child-focused therapeutic interventions that are used in working with highly traumatized children. Social workers must be able to know the type of therapeutic intervention system, theories and models that they can deploy when sorry, the Glow network also disappeared. I had to change to MTN. I have 2 bars. Let's manage that. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
We can hear you, sir.
Oh, it's all right. Thank you. So, as part of the scope, I was going to be winding down, is leadership in case management and in the collaboration of services both within and external to the child protective system. Number 11 is advocacy in relation to the rights of children, their families, and carers. Number 12, attention specifically to cultural issues when placing local children, given their overrepresentation in state care. Number 13, supporting foster carers to meet the practical and therapeutic care needs of children and delivering residential care services. Number 14, advocating for child care and protection. 15, advocating for aftercare support for those who are 18 and 25 years old people in the shelter. Yes, a social worker also advocates for those who have been in the shelter and have grown in the shelter, and they've now reached the age of majority, that is 18 and above. And by then, maybe they have been able to enter university, and some have already finished university. So getting job for them and ensuring that, or skills, or setting them up to ensure that they face their life as they live their life of majority. So all these are the scope of the work that social work practice entails. Then okay, I think we will need to stop here a while. Last one already. Okay. In the next 5 minutes, when we wind down, let's just have if you have one thing to questions, contribution, or confession. So let's hear. We'll attend to 1 or 2 people, and then wind down. If there's any questions,
Good
contribution, or
afternoon, sir.
confession. Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for today's lecture. We really enjoy the class. But sir, we will need the material.
Yeah, I'll send it.
Okay, sir.
I'll send it to the admin. The admin will send it to us.
Okay, sir.
All right, thank you. So when we meet next, we'll be talking about contribution of social work to child protection. Contribution of social work to child protection is what we'll be discussing next when we meet. So if there's no other question, contribution or confession, we would like to call it a wrap here till the next time that we will meet. Is that okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, do have a beautiful weekend.
Thank you,
You
sir.
too, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.